guys, welcome to another episode of Thrive. It's Carly. We are back after a few weeks hiatus, also known as life, and just being busy with all of the things. And I'm excited to be back recording another episode today. I want to talk about scripting for one, and I want to talk about really the art of manifestation and being and really feeling as though what we want is already done, and it all links together so beautifully. And I also want to show you, if you're watching this on video, if you're not, I apologize, but how cool is my cup? This is my manifestation cup. Manifest that shit, daily reminders. You got that bad bitch energy. How cool is this? You know, I feel like every chance we get to, we should take every chance we get to remind ourselves of who the fuck we are and who we want to be. And that's really what the whole being piece is about. And I'm going to share more with you on that in a minute. So I am sitting today out in my kitchen. I'm not sitting at my desk. I'm not sitting at any of my other usual kind of content creation spots. Hence why I've got this little Zoom filter going on today. And the reason that I'm sitting out here is because, number one, I love this space. I don't know. I love this little room in my beautiful apartment. And I have the most beautiful view from where I'm sitting when I sit here in the kitchen. I have these floor to ceiling windows, and the abundance of light that comes into this apartment is just incredible. And you'd probably see more light if I didn't have this filter on, but I've got the filter on, and you know, that's just how we're rolling today. And I caught myself earlier today when I was just here before I started doing the podcast. And I was like, this is exactly what I manifested. This is exactly what I manifested. And I actually shared a photo, maybe last week or the week before, on socials. And Layla, my daughter, and I, we were sitting out here and we were looking at like my vision board. And it was so funny because I hadn't even stuck it up yet since moving into this new place. And I looked at this picture that I had on my vision board. And I was like, Layla, come and look at this. Like, where does this look like we are? And she's like, oh, here, mummy. And she thought that the photo like was of me here, bless her. So we recreated the photo, right? And the image that I had on the vision board was so similar to the apartment that we're living in, like in terms of the floor to ceiling windows, the sliding doors in this living area. And it absolutely blew my mind. And it really got me kind of reflecting on the work that I did, the inner work that I did to actually call this place in and call in all of the other things that have changed in my life over the last year. You know, in terms of the most incredible friendships, in terms of my car, in terms of the separation that began really messy and has now turned into this beautiful, amicable separation where we're such good friends and we're co-parenting so effectively, right? And of course, this beautiful business and this impact that I get to have every single day. It got me really reflecting on how I've called all of these things in. And, you know, it really comes down to who I chose to be in those moments. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about, you know, the fact that we can do all of these practices. We can show up and we can, you know, get up at 5:30, 6 a.m., whatever time, and do 15 minutes of affirmations and go and feel really good. And then we go out into the world, we go out into our 3D reality, what some people would call the real world, and something happens. And then all of a sudden we are thrown off and the old ways of thinking creep back in. The old stories creep back in and they just run rampant in our minds. And if you've experienced that, number one, you're human. And number two, if you haven't, then let me know, because I would be very surprised. But we go out into the 3D, you know, real world, you know, whether it's you go to your job or, you know, you go and you have a moment in your business where things didn't go the way that you'd planned or you'd hoped, or, you know, the way that you are manifesting, as some people might say. And it can either throw you off and you allow those dominant thoughts, those, you know, those old stories, like it might sound like, you know, you telling yourself that you're not successful or that you'll never be successful or that nothing you do ever works or nothing ever works out for you or that you can't have what you want What you want isn't made for you, right? Only other people get to be successful. Only other people get to experience the riches, the joy, the whatever it is that you want, right? All of these stories take over. And you know why these stories take over? Well, it's because they are so deeply embedded in your subconscious mind right now because you have been thinking them since you were a kid. And I mean, you probably don't even know that you are thinking them half the time. That's what a lot of people are doing, right? They're going on autopilot. And because they're just so used to these thoughts being, presented to them, they're just so used to thinking this way. They're so used to believing a certain thing. They don't even notice when it's happening. And this is why it can be so challenging for a lot of people to change those thoughts that are actually creating your reality, right? Because the more that you think things like you're not successful, the more you think that you're not worthy or that money's hard to come by or only other people get to be successful, not you, all of those really unhelpful thoughts, the more you think those, the more you are just embedding them into your subconscious mind, right? And it gets to a point where you might consciously, the part that you are aware of, you might go, do you know what? Like, I really want to make a change. I really want to do this thing differently. I really want to show up differently in my business. I want to share more authentically, or, I want to start talking about something that's really important to me. You might consciously make this decision. And then your subconscious mind, so the stuff that you're not aware of, is going to try and keep you safe. And that's part of its primary role is to try and keep you safe. Now, obviously, this is very useful in certain circumstances, right? So if you go out onto the road, and you see a car, your subconscious mind is going to just like keep your legs planted firmly on the ground until it's time to cross the road safely. Back in, the old days when there were saber-toothed tigers just roaming around the streets or whatever they had back then, your subconscious mind would keep you safe and it would tell you to run, right? It would tell you when to run. So you knew when you were in danger. Now, the thing is that a lot of us, well, most of us, like we're living our lives as though we're still being chased by saber-toothed tigers, but we're not even realizing it. So our subconscious mind is trying to keep us safe from these perceived threats that aren't actually real threats, right? So it's like, you say, oh, I want to show up online and, go and do a live video, which feels really, really scary, right? Is that a real threat or is that a perceived threat? And one way that I like to, if you sort of can't work this out just on the surface level, is kind of like ask yourself, well, if I do go and show up online, am I at risk of dying or not? Right. And if the answer is no, then it's probably not a real threat. And it's probably just an invitation for you to move out of your comfort zone. Now, I have just gone on a complete tangent, which does not sound like me at all. So let's get back to the topic. So who you are being. So we can show up in the morning and do our practices. We can show up and you can do your affirmations. But who are you being for the other 23 hours and 45 minutes every single day? And this is the part that actually makes the difference. Yes, your affirmations and your morning rituals, whatever it is that you choose to do, they are very important if that's how you choose to get into the state of being the person who already has the thing that you want. All right, let me explain a little bit about that. So your morning routines, if you are doing morning routines, I used to do a morning routine all the time. And some of you who listen to this might remember that was one of the really big things that I taught on for a period of time, and how to actually show up for yourself in the morning, what sort of things to actually focus on to shift your mindset and to get into the energy and all of those sorts of things. But since what I've realized is that there are a couple of things. I used to be really diligent with my morning practice, and I would probably spend like an hour or so doing this particular practice every single day until it got to a point where it just wasn't feeling good for me anymore. And what I realized was that I needed to focus on those couple of key things that really allowed me to get into the state of being the Carly who's doing the things, who's having the things, who is who she desires to be. Okay. So the purpose of our routines and our practices are not to just tick a box and say, okay, I've done them. now I'm going to go back to my old way of thinking for the rest of the day, because you're just undoing the work and certainly not making anything any better, right? Certainly not amplifying your chances to, call in the clients or the cash or the big dreams that you're wanting to manifest, right? And this is where a lot of people do get stuck. They're like, oh, but I'm doing my morning routine every day. And that's what I say, like, that's great. But who are you being, and how are you operating in here for the rest of the day? And oftentimes they're kind of like, oh, it's either I don't really know or it's shit, right? So we've got to, yes, we get to use these tools. Yes, we get to use the practices. Yes, we get to use the techniques. I'm going to share with you one of the techniques that has absolutely been a game changer. I may have given it away at the beginning for me and for a lot of my clients. We don't just use the techniques to just tick the box and then go back to our old way of thinking. We use the techniques as a support, or as a vehicle to allow us to get into the state of being the person who's already got the thing that we're manifesting, or who's already living the life that we desire. Okay? Because this is the thing. This is the art of manifestation, really. It's the art of manifestation is getting out of wanting it, needing it, not having it, getting out of being desperate, getting out of being thirsty, and into being and feeling it as already done. So if you are in the energy of, oh my God, like I just need this thing to come, like when is it coming? Why haven't I got it yet? And you're constantly having conversations with people, like maybe your friends or coaches or whoever, and you're saying, like, I'm building this business, but I don't have any clients yet. Or I've got this program that I've launched, but I haven't sold it out yet, or I haven't sold any spots yet. If you're constantly saying things like that, then you are reaffirming that you don't have what you desire, which is ultimately a business that's booked out, which is ultimately cash coming in pretty consistently, which is ultimately you working with your soul aligned clients and getting to have the impact that you want to have in the world. Okay. And what you're doing, the more you say it, you're reaffirming it, and you're just perpetuating the cycle, right? You're just creating more of not having it in your reality. So what do we have to do? We have to stop living from that place as though we don't have it, right? And you think about it like this. What's the action that you take when you're living in the place of not having the thing and wanting the thing? It can get pretty needy, can't it? Right? And you can liken this to anything. Like, let's just say there's like somebody that you're in love with and they're not in love with you, right? If you're like constantly feeling like, oh my God, I want this person, I need this person, it can lead you to take some pretty fucking crazy actions, right? So what we need to do is we need to get into the state of being the person who's already doing the thing, who already has the thing, who's already living the lifestyle that you want to live, right? So we get to kind of fast forward and go to the end where that is our reality, where we're living in the end, where we're being the person, we're showing up as the person who's doing it, right? So let's say if you're in business, or you're building a business, or you want to build a business and you want to make 10 sales, or you want to attract 10 clients, right? How does that person show up once they've already done that? Okay. Chances are, they're showing up with confidence. Chances are they're speaking their truth. Chances are they're following what feels good. They're not taking, like they're not reacting. They're not reacting and taking action because, oh my God, I feel like I have to, because I have to get clients, I have to make money, right? They don't need to do that because they've already got the money. So they get to lean back a little more. It doesn't mean they don't do anything, but they get to lean back a little bit more and they get to take action from that place, right? So part of your role here, becoming the conscious creator of your life and your reality, because you are creating it, it's just a matter of doing it consciously. Part of your role here is to understand, okay, if I was already making $100,000, $200,000, 300, whatever it is per year, how would I be moving? If I knew it was done, if that was already me, what would I be doing? What would my day look like? What would my business look like? What would my offers look like? What would my posts look like? What's the energy that I'd be sharing in? What's the energy that I would be showing up in? How would I be speaking to my people? Would I be feeling like I'm an authority? Would I be feeling and showing up like I'm the expert? Would I be shying away, watering myself down, hiding? Okay, because too many people are still out there hiding because they want and they wish that they could have the business, but they don't feel good enough and they don't feel like they're ever going to be successful. So therefore, they're not going to be successful. Okay, and that's the harsh truth. Until you change your mindset at the subconscious level, those blocks are going to keep holding you back. And then you're going to sit there and you're going to be like, oh, well, maybe it's just not meant for me. Maybe I'm just not meant to do this. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I should go and try something else and go and try something else for the 15th time. Okay. And I know this because that used to be me. That absolutely used to be me. Whereas when I chose to step into the energy and show up as the woman who's already doing the things, who's already got the things, who's already got the, let's use the business example for now, but I'm going to share the others as well. Like, who's already signing the soul aligned clients, who's already running the programs that she wants to run, who's already, making the 6 figures every single year. That's when my program started to sell out. That's when my soul aligned clients started to find me. And it's like they were magnetized to me. I didn't really have to do anything different. This is what I often say to people. It's like, you get to have more and create the business of your dreams without necessarily doing more. Because a lot of you, and I know if you're in my world, you're an action taker, you're a courageous, person. You're a courageous human. You're not just sitting back waiting for things to happen. You're already taking all the action. But what's missing is this piece, is that delusional mindset, that delusional level of self-belief that knows that it's already done. And that is often the missing piece for people. Right? But it was like when I was calling in this apartment, I went to the end. I imagined and I visualized and I scripted, which is going to be the thing we'll talk about next. I scripted this apartment into my 3D reality. And so I wasn't frantically looking for other places to live. I looked at one apartment before this, which I knew I wasn't going to even apply for because it wasn't in the area that I wanted, right? What an interesting lesson. I almost settled. And then a week later, or not even a week later, a few days later, this one became available. And I came in, me and Layla, 30 other groups of people. And I walked around super quickly and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is it. I just knew it was it. And walked out, went back to where we were living before with Layla's dad, and I applied for it. And I just knew, like I had this knowing, I had this deep knowing that I was going to get it. So I wasn't frantically looking for other places. I knew that I was going to get this. So where I was going with this was I went to the end and I imagined the agent calling me and telling me that he had good news for me. So I went to the end and I imagined that scenario as I went to bed for, I think the process was like a week, however long it was. And I imagined that scenario. And I allowed myself to feel what it felt like to know that it was already done. So where can you apply this in your life, in your business, and in everything else? Because yes, we're talking about this, I'm talking about the apartment, obviously, but also through a business lens, but this applies to everything else in your life. Okay. This applies to absolutely everything in your life. If you want a car, right? How can you feel it as already being done? And how would you show up? How would you act if it was already done, knowing that it's already done? Okay. So that's the part about how we really need to be. That's the art of manifestation, is getting into the being. Get out of the wanting, get out of the hoping, get out of the wishing, get out of the thirsty as fuck energy, because that's just perpetuating that cycle and that's just creating more of that. And get into the being. Get into the being where you know that it's done, you know that it's yours. You've already got it. Because I'll share a little secret with you. If it's already done in here, in your mind, that is creation. All that's left now is for it to be made manifest in your 3D reality. And you do that by being the person who's already got it, who's already doing it, who already is it. Okay? So that's a little cheat code for you to completely collapse time and quantum leap your entire reality. So one of the ways that has helped me, like, I can't even tell you how much this has helped me with completely shifting my life from where I was about a year ago or thereabouts. In fact, I think it was just about a year now since I left Byron Bay. If you're a long-time listener, can you believe that? My God, how different things were back then. And that was when I started scripting. That was when I started scripting because I knew my life was changing because I had made the decision that things were changing. And up until that point, it was kind of going in a direction where, I didn't know where it was going because I was on autopilot. I wasn't consciously creating anything at that point. Okay. Because if you've listened to my story, you'll know that I prior to traveling, I was very conscious in terms of what I was creating. And then it was, I don't know, I got this big dream and I just took my foot off the pedal and I allowed my mind to run me. And that's part of what created that whole scenario, which is so interesting to reflect on. But that was when I decided, I'm like, no, Carly, we're getting back in the driver's seat here. We are getting back into the role of conscious creator of this life because we deserve to. We deserve to live our big dreams. And even though one big dream didn't go the way we'd hoped or planned, or you decided that you didn't want it anymore, that doesn't mean that it's the end. It means it's only just fucking beginning. So that's when I decided to really get back in the driver's seat and I started scripting. And so I would do it in a couple of ways. And the reason I'm going to share this with you is because I've got something very exciting that we're going to be running in next week. I did it in a couple of ways. I would physically write in my journal what it was that I wanted, and I would then read it or I would read it out. But I also had some very powerful recordings that I would listen to. And once I got into the swing of it and I was doing it diligently and I was, really on top of my scripting and listening to it, I'd have to update my script so often, so regularly, because all of the things that I wanted were just coming in. Okay. This shows the power of this as a tool. Now, scripting, we are running a free scripting challenge to manifest your next 5 clients. Okay. We're going to start it next week. I'm going to hold it, I think, on Facebook. I'm yet to decide. Now, I think I'm gonna run it on Facebook, but I'll probably share them on Instagram too. Okay, but make sure that if you want to take part and actually interact in this scripting challenge, come over and join me on Facebook. I'll link it in the notes here. But scripting completely changed my life. Like that was how I manifested this apartment. Like part of how I manifested this apartment. That was how I manifested the amicable separation with my ex-husband. That was how I manifested my car. Okay. And I've still got to update a couple of things in my script, right? So this is going to be such a beautiful way for us to all collectively work together, script in our desires when it comes to manifesting your next 5 clients, when it comes to, calling in who that client is, when it comes to the kind of money that you want to make. We're going to be scripting it all. Okay. This is going to be such a beautiful opportunity for us to really feed on the collective energy when we're doing this. Okay. Because yes, we can go and do it by ourselves and we can have brilliant results. But when we're doing it with other people as well, like, I don't know if you resonate with this, but I just feel that there is a whole new level of energy that we get to tap into. And I think that feels very, very exciting. So the free scripting challenge is going to start next week. Make sure that you are either following me or friends with me on Facebook or on Instagram, because I will be sharing all of the details as we go live. And this is going to be life-changing for you. Okay, I'm going to share with you the exact technique, the exact process that I use to completely change my whole life from where I was 1 year ago, about to jump in the caravan and head back to Adelaide with no place to live, with a very, volatile kind of separated relationship that we were still kind of living together, and it was all very weird, to this most beautiful relationship now where we could even go out on the weekend all together for my daughter's birthday and we're friends, which is really nice. So much has changed, and I attribute so much of it to me being the woman who had already changed it, me stepping into the energy of who I desired to be before I saw it in my 3D reality. And scripting was one of the vehicles that actually helped me on my way to doing that. So I want to see you in the challenge. Okay. I want to see you in the challenge. Make sure that you let me know if you're going to join. Drop me a DM drop me a DM if you're going to join. You guys will all get an email about it as well really soon. But it has the power to change your life. Okay. The way that I teach it has the absolute power to change your life, to change your business, and to call in any big dream that you want. We are going to be running the challenge through the, the business lens, but you're not limited to how you use this technique, this process that I share with you. Okay. So use it to change your motherfucking life. Let's fuck shit up and let's really step into the lives that we want to be living. Okay. Because I don't know about you, but I'm not here to live a mediocre life. I'm not here to settle for something just because that's all I've known. And you're not either. And I know that about you. I know that if you're in my world, you're a fucking action taker. You're a courageous woman, man, person, human. Okay. And you want more. You want to have more impact. You want to call in more clients, more sales, more big dreams, right? Whatever your thing is. And I want to help you with that because I think that we all deserve to. And I mean, this work that I do, like, is so important to me on so many different levels, but I really got clear on this the other day. And one of the reasons why it is so important is we don't learn this shit in schools. We just get told that, I can't even remember what we get told. We just get told to go and live our lives and, be a good girl and do what everybody says, right? We don't get told that we're actually the creators of our own reality. We don't get taught that we can actually influence energy. We can influence our own realities. And imagine if our kids knew that. Imagine if our kids were growing up and they understood that they can have what they want. If they can imagine it, then they can have it. Okay, and that's one of the reasons why this work is so important to me. If it changes your life, that's brilliant. And if you pass that on to your kids and you can change their life, then we're contributing to changing a whole fucking generation. And can you imagine the ripple effect of that? Okay, that's all I've got to say today. So come and join me in the free scripting challenge. And if you liked this episode, please help a sister out. Jump in and give us a 5-star review. That way we can help more people get this podcast into their ears. We can help influence more change in the world. And, it's like, be the change that you want to see in the world. We're being the change internally so that we can reflect that outside of us. So I love you. Thank you so much for listening. Help a sister out. Drop us a 5-star review. And until next time, you have fucking got this. I love you.